It's my ex.
Your ex?
Yeah.
So what happened? The minute you get it off your chest, it's a step in the right direction.
I guess so. I guess that's pretty much why I feel so guilty when I speak to Deborah. I'm not able to translate particular things because I'm holding it on my chest.
And what exactly happened? You haven't said.
So yeah, me and my ex, obviously Deborah knows me and my ex, we train together. Like why I train her, I should say. Obviously, normally it's virtual. But there must have been a time where we decided to change up a little bit. Where we met face to face. I guess after this session, things felt a bit different, I guess. Like, yeah.
And you took things further?
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book. You know what time it is. We're talking to you guys about blue therapy, and we are dealing specifically with this particular equation or question, if you want to call it. But the X that the person told you not to worry about is the one you now need to worry about. Guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Click on the bell button for notification of uploads. And for those of you who are returnees, you got the minerals. You got the minerals. Listen, it's a Mazzoline right now. Listen, if you're new to this channel, if you're a returnee as well, you already know what it is, baby. Stay hydrated. Listen, we've even got a little bottle for you. Stay hydrated. Grab yours down below. Listen, look, I spoke about this in my last review, and we're going to try and coach this one a little bit, right? Which means I'm going to try and take the emotions out of it. But I want to say this very first thing. Oh, my phone's gone far. I want to say this very first thing, which is this. Number one, you know, when you're dealing with an ex situation, okay, working with them when you have the choice of not working with them is often a very bad idea. And the reason why it's a bad idea is because most of us actually don't know where we stand emotionally, and we make critical errors in the relationships that we're building with our ex. Okay, now I'm sure many of us have been in that situation where we've dealt with an ex before, and maybe you might have had to work with them, or you've had to go on a project together. Many people can testify that it was never the most easiest thing to do. Your emotions, your how you're feeling, you know, the sudden flashbacks, you know, those memories that come flooding back as you see that person, your heart jolting, all those particular things when you've dated someone and you see them in your vicinity, in your area, in your space. But the case here with Jamil and Deborah is that he chose to work with his ex and train her. Now, he didn't need to do this. There are millions of other coaches like myself. She could have chosen someone else who she didn't need to be. She could have chosen someone else who didn't have to be her ex. The mere fact that it was him, number one, is problematic. I felt it problematic because why is there not a degree of separation? Now, I know, I understand. There are some people that will say, you know, me and my ex are cool. Listen, you might be the exceptions to the rule. Many of us are very much in tune with our emotions and our feelings. But sometimes what we're not going to be is honest with ourselves. Okay, look, you have to understand a lot of how we work as human beings is that the feelings, the thoughts, the emotions, the memories, okay, they don't go away. They don't just disappear into thin air. It's almost like a computer. When you delete a file, it goes into the recycle bin. All right. But even when you delete it from the recycle bin, they can still trace it back. That's how your mind almost works. The memories never leave. They are clinging to your soul day in and day out. They will never leave you. Now, the impression and the weight of that memory may be far less, right? But it does not leave you. And this is what's really important to understand. So when you're now trying to work with an ex, you're putting yourself in a place where you're going to have to work together. And that means bonding over interpersonal issues or attitudes and values. Interpersonal, like attitudes and values, the intrinsic stuff, right? You're gonna have to bond on that aspect. Forget the physical attraction now. Forget the sex even. When we're building relationships that are long-lasting, we build them through interpersonal means. And if you are consistently having communication on an interpersonal level, attitudes, values, ideas, let's say mental intimacy, right? As well as obviously emotional intimacy, which means sharing how you feel, sharing your thought and sharing the thoughts, the ideas are the mental intimacies. If you're sharing those aspects of yourself with your ex, you're going to find yourself in a very dangerous position. Right? Look, when I get a new idea, I don't ring my ex and say, I've got a great idea, Do you know why? Because I'm not making her a confidant. Is that how you say it? Confidant? I'm not making her a confidant, and I'm not making her someone who I'm going to rest my thoughts in, because, okay, that will open up myself again to receiving that person in again. Right? Because in order to share that part of me, I have to be reliant upon you and trusting that, okay, this person has some degree of trust or some degree of space in my heart. All right. Now, it's not to say it's impossible, right? But it becomes very difficult to work with an ex, and you've chosen to do so. I think that for Jamil, that is reckless. Okay? That is reckless. Not Beyonce love reckless, but reckless. Okay, now I want you to pay attention. Listen to what he's about to say in the next few seconds about the actual issue of him moving mad with his ex. If you know what moving mad means, it means he's doing nonsense, moving crazy. He's moving mad with the ex. But watch what he says. He speaks about how they change the terrain. And this is very, very important. Whenever you're about to move mad, you change the terrain. Just like when you're flirting with your colleague, eventually you're going to change the terrain. You're going to be at someone's house, you're going to be at someone's function, someone's party. You're going to be doing it outside of just work. It's going to shift and it's going to move. I know some of you are probably thinking about how people do stuff at work as well. Yeah, absolutely right, they do, right? But it shifts terrain. You move the conversation from being just at work, now you're texting each other. That's terrain changing, okay? Whenever you shift the terrain, the battleground shifts. And in that battleground, there are new dangers that you're going to be facing in those particular moments. And the pitfalls increase. So you've changed it from, we just talk at work, to now phone texting, to now sending memes and stuff like that. And then we go into calls, calls or whatever you want to call it, right? And then before we know it, we're meeting up for a coffee, right? And I'm putting it very plainly and plainly. It doesn't usually work like that. People skip levels. But what I'm talking about is that whenever you get to a point where Jamil was, where he's gonna admit to pretty much cheating on Deborah, that only comes when you've changed terrain. And you are going to change terrain because you're not honest with yourself about how you feel. Why have I got this from my hand? You know what I'm saying? Let's play a little bit more of the clip.
Yeah, we had a conversation in the car for about, give or take 4 hours or so.
Well, let me put it this way. Whatever happened in that car, would you be comfortable with Deborah doing the same thing with somebody else in a car?
Now, before you actually answer that question, did you hear how he changed the terrain? We were doing this thing online, and suddenly we moved it now to, we had a conversation in the car, and something changed. And that is a risk you're taking every time you invite somebody from the past to be present. They're in the past for a reason. They're not supposed to be in the present to influence your future. Okay? And so when you bring that ex in, you've got to be honest with yourself. Totally honest with yourself. Are you still feeling something there? You know, I honestly would, if I'm in a relationship, I wouldn't be coaching any of my exes. Sorry to say it. I appreciate all my exes. I think they're amazing, great people, but you're my ex, and you're my ex for a reason. And you don't have, you see, the Bible, there's a Bible scripture. I know you probably might not be a Christian, but let me tell you, the scripture says, place no confidence in the flesh. Place none of it in the flesh. You in this body, it will lie to you. Oh, it will lie to you. It will tell you, you got a handle on this. You got this. Don't worry about it. You have that phone call. You go and meet her in the car. Yeah? You start training her. Start giving her advice. You start lending your ear. Start lending your time. Start lending your heart. No worries. Before you know it, you're in the situation that you didn't want to be in. And you're asking yourself this question, how did I get here? You got here because you lied to yourself. And that's the honest truth. this situation about the ex that you didn't need to worry about, okay, is actually from the fact that you lied to yourself and then became a Decepticon, and you've now lied to your partner. Let's play a little bit more.
No.
No. I think the best question for me to ask now is, are you prepared to tell Deborah today about this scenario?
You know how she just acted a few seconds ago, thinking about a particular person. Like, I think this will definitely break her if I told her it was my ex. Especially her trusting the fact that we trained together, or I trained her. And you know how it kind of hits when it's somebody that you've dealt with in the past?
But I think she'd respect the fact that you're actually being honest with yourself and with her.
Now, here's a problem with the Jamil and the Deborah situation. Now, I still think Deborah is controlling. She's got aspects of control. Let's keep that 100. She's got those parts of her. What I will say is that because he's been keeping a secret, he's had to gaslight her. He's had to lie. He's had to be deceptive. He's had to hide certain things. Probably use a red herring. You know, if he was smart manipulator, if you're really about that life, I'll tell you about the dark arts. If you're really about that dark arts life, you use a red herring. If you know what that is in English, it's like you put the red herring here would be Christina, the girl that she thought she should be worried about, which wasn't the one you should be worried about. Christina from Clubhouse. No, that wasn't the girl you should be worried about, right? It's actually his ex that you should be worried about. Christina was a red herring. So, you know, the issue here is that now, because you haven't been honest with yourself, you've allowed your ex to get in. You've brought your ex into a scenario where you're in the present. It's now brought this confusion for you. And you've gone and done something stupid. And it's made you feel guilty. But at the same time, you don't want to get caught. So you're going to have to do certain things to now make sure you don't get caught. And this is where always the damage is really done. So you go in there, you don't just break things. You go in and you rake things. Like you break it and then you rake it. It's almost like having one of those knives, or should I say, them knives that have got several ends on it, right? You plunge it in and it opens up. And you rake out. That is what the equivalent of what happens emotionally when you do stuff like this. Because the lie, the cheating was enough, but then there's lies and everything else like on there, which really do the damage to the person. Jamil knew what he was doing, right? The whole Afro Nation talk, the whole, stuff like that. You knew exactly what you were doing, sir. Very, very calculated. And so now we're in a situation where Deborah's going to have to find a way to heal. Once she finds this information out, she's going to have to find a way to heal. And I'm not even blaming her in terms of the ex situation, because she decided to trust him. And there's nothing wrong with that, because it's not necessarily being naive. He's obviously petitioned to have his ex to train, right? And that's on him. I wanted to say this now. I wouldn't advise you as an individual to keep the operational lines with an ex open. Many of us have bad thoughts, including myself. Okay, all right. I could be in there just to cause a bit of havoc and leave. It's not my business. Cause a little bit of havoc and leave. That's not my business. Do you feel what I'm saying? So that the situation at this moment here for Deborah and Jamal is Jamal has come clean. I mean, it doesn't have to, but he should come clean. If his conscience is something that he cares about, he should come clean, right? This relationship could be done. I mean, Deborah could potentially find it in her heart to forgive, but I don't think she will. This relationship, it could be done, and rightly so, because he's decided to take an inch, or should I say, taking a mile when he's been given an inch. So I'm gonna leave it there. I want to keep it nice, short, and sweet, but I wanted to just let people know. Listen, working with an ex, boundaries should be in place that are firmly in place, right? Boundaries of what communication looks like. What should communication be like? Your partner should be involved in this situation because it affects your partner. Irrespective of whether I have a business of coaching or not, if my ex contacted me and say, hey, I would love some coaching, I'll be like, listen, that's a bit tricky. But I would at least ask my ex first. I wouldn't really, sorry, not my ex, I would at least ask my current partner first. I personally wouldn't want to do it, to be honest. I would ask my current partner first. They've got to be involved in this. This is do you know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't personally do it, but if I was saying this to someone else, I'd be like, you have to have your current partner involved. You don't do this solo because you have a history, and the history doesn't just go. It's written upon your heart. And if you lie to yourself like Jamil just did, you'll be staying hydrated. Appreciate you guys. Stay locked and stay loaded. We'll talk some more about some of the other stuff that was said in the video later on as well. Appreciate you guys.